Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Just for Fun Reviews. I'm your boy Azzy, and with me as always is my boy Roy. And we are reviewing today The Last of Us. HBO's The Last of Us.
Not the game, not the game, not The Last of Us Part 1, not The Last of Us Part 2, HBO The Last of Us.
Yeah. We're literally jumping straight from watching the show ourselves to giving our impressions, and there was any live action adaptation or just adaptation in general of a video game to a movie format always feels like it's the last bastion or the last Alamo, because the industry will take whatever excuse or example necessary or to say, oh, this isn't going to work anymore, we're just not going to do it. So yeah, this feels like there's a lot of shit riding on this one show in order to make sure that we get things like Amazon's God of War series, whatever the hell that comes out in like 5 years.
Don't know about that one.
Hey, I'm gonna hold out hope. I'm gonna suck on this hopium, okay? Anyway, so just giving flat impressions. How'd you feel about this episode? Like, how confident do you feel after this first episode about the rest of the series?
Okay, I mean, me playing the game, I don't know how deep you've been into this franchise or anything like that, but I knew what to expect out of this first episode. I know what key points they were going to hit, and I feel like I knew where this episode, how it was going to end, and I hit it on the money. But overall, I felt it was...
Yeah, I mean...
I felt it was a good
episode. We both
episode.
played the game at least once.
Yeah.
We both played the game at least once, so we kind of knew what beats were going to get hit, but... Oh, man.
Let's just do the spoiler-free shit first before we jump into that.
No, I mean,
if you hadn't played the game...
I'm not gonna say... because if you haven't played the game, then hopefully... If this is your first experience, by all means, you're going to enjoy it. The tension, the funny thing about the Last of Us franchise in general is that while violence and action isn't at the forefront, really, as it being like if you played this series in its video game format, of course, the gameplay is there, and there tends to be a lot more action and violence. But all the violence feels purposeful because you're supposed to believe that you're actually killing people rather than just like faceless NPCs. Mm-hmm. So the series for me always came with a lot of extra tension. You felt vulnerable in a very survival horror kind of way, and all of your actions felt purposeful and meaningful. So coming into the show, I felt that same exact tension. Like at the beginning, the way things pan out for the beginning of the series, yeah, that whole like first half, I felt like I was like fucking frozen.
Yeah, I mean, because that was one of the key things. Like, okay, man, I hope they do this. I hope they show the barn on fire or the house on fire or whatever they wanted, whatever it was in the game. They did that. They showed the whole running through
set pieces. They hit the bullet points of the set pieces.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say it was to 1-to-1 scale on everything they did, because clearly there were some minor changes here and there, but it wasn't like I had Isaac watching the beginning and the very beginning of the show, and he's like, they did this, they did. I like, be quiet, I'm trying to watch it. Yeah, he's the diehard fan.
If you're a big fan of the game, there are going to be a lot of things you're going to be able to point out that they definitely changed. They definitely had to expand upon the very beginning. Like the first 15 minutes is all new shit. Because they
basically
this is a different format. This is
takes place before the whole supposedly outbreak happened. So you can kind of
oh yeah. I liked how it like dipped into the past, it gave us that almost like a soliloquies to introduce the audience to the concept of what the danger is going to be later.
yeah, like
And it's always been
the very beginning with the television show talking about how viruses
in
is
like
not gonna
1963.
Yeah, the viruses aren't gonna do shit. It's fungus, and which is funny because they mentioned the whole ant and the fungus thing, which it's real,
which is real.
It's fucking real.
It is very real.
And I was like, oh, they want to bring that up. So yeah, it can possibly happen, but and then when think
of it this way, just add a like extra layer of fear to our already fear-filled lives.
Yeah, he was like, well, if the temperature rises,
it's believed that it's believed that COVID was a virus that was typically just transferred, and the COVID, what would become COVID-19, was a virus that would typically only be transferable between bats, and it mutated and then seemed to pass on to humans, and that's how that whole shit went down. And that's essentially what this concept is: what if cordyceps were to evolve and be able to spread to us, and thus the entire series. But yeah, no. Overall, how did you feel about, without getting into detail, how did you feel about some of the more specific changes that they did to the general concept?
I mean, because I actually listened to Alana Pierce's Play Watch Listen podcast with Troy Baker, who does the voice for Joel in the game, and how he explained, because there's like one major thing within the game that they didn't put into this show, and it kind of struck a nerve with me a little bit, but I can understand why, because it was like, as Troy Baker said, that was a gameplay mechanic that they had to, not like saying trying to spoil a thing. I mean, it's not in the damn show. The spore thing.
Oh
yeah. Where that you couldn't breathe in the spores, or you'd just be infected already.
Yeah.
So yeah, they took that out.
And this isn't a spoiler for the show, but basically, when in the game, part of the concept was that, like, once an infected person got to a certain point, they would release fungal spores, which would essentially be like dense clouds that people had to wear face masks in order to pass through, otherwise they'd get infected. That's missing from the show, and instead it's more like tendrils that come out of the mouth.
I mean, it's not something like, when they bite you, it's kind of different in the game, because when you see the game, it's just like they're like zombies at that point. They just bite you and you.
Yeah, we never really needed an explanation in the game of what happens when they bite somebody, but it adds a little bit of extra context in the show. So, like, I didn't think it was gonna bother me when I heard about it prior to the show being released, but once I actually saw it, I was like, oh, okay, I mean, that's fine.
Well, and the fact that, do you want to see Pedro or any of these characters wear a mask the whole goddamn time
with something on their face?
Yeah, I mean, like, I know that, didn't Pedro wear a mask the whole fucking time he was the Mandalorian?
Let the man show his face. Speaking of Pedro, how did you feel about his performance?
I mean, it was okay. I mean, it's Pedro. So I mean, it's so hard to base it off of one episode. Because I think the one emotion you saw besides what happened in the very beginning is near the end of the episode, where it goes back to a flashback of the beginning, where you saw him be Joel, the bad guy Joel. So
Pedro's amazing. Yeah, definitely.
He could sell.
Definitely channeling that Joel energy. Yeah,
he could sell it. And Bella Ramsey, though, that's motherfucking Ellie. Like, she's out the gate cussing, flipping people off. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Ellie. But
that was pretty cool. Something I really liked. Found out thanks to, at the very end of the episode, they had the inside the episode bit. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I didn't realize that the woman who plays Marnie in the live action show was also the woman who played Marnie in the game.
You mean Marlene?
Marley.
Yeah, same actress.
Marnie. Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool. See, more hope for God of War because the actors are already there. Come on, man.
Nah, they saying
Don't all this
Dave
bullshit
Bautista,
fan
Dave
casting of
Bautista's
Bautista.
gonna
No,
be. Anyway, Last of Us.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, yeah, no, like there was an existential. The Last of Us as a series has that existential fear to it because of how it blends the concept, real life concepts and principles, I guess I should say, or but watching the scene where shit just goes south and all the people running like the atmosphere and the environment that they had set up, it was very fucking intense.
Planes coming down.
Yes.
And you know, the whole time when that scene happened, Isaac, being the diehard fan, he's like, that didn't happen. The car's supposed to flip over because another car ran into the car and fucking flipped Joel and them over. That's how that's supposed to happen. I was like, well, if a jet engine fucking hits a car, it's gonna damn flip.
We were watching. We weren't really watching things from Joel's perspective, so we honestly didn't get to see how the car ended up that way, and I liked that. We were following it from a specific point of view for the mass majority of that beginning, that prologue. But no, it's just even after once it takes the 20-year jump and we see the status quo of how it is within these walled militarized cities, it's just like they pulled out all the fucking stops to create this amazing environment, amazingly bleak and horrible environment. But yeah, no, I can really appreciate like the amount of work that they put into it.
Yeah, and give credit. They used the score from the game in this episode. I guarantee it's probably going to be.
I wasn't gonna remember, but I'm glad you did.
I was like, wait a minute, because I think one of the tracks for, we'll get to it later, one of the tracks for a certain scene was actually in part 2. So I was like, okay, because when I hear that song, it's a sad song. There's no lyrics or anything, but it's the way it's played. It's supposed to make you sad, make you feel.
Was that the song at the very end on the radio?
No.
Like the radio turned on. That was the last scene.
I'm talking about the score. I'm talking about the score, not not actual artist soundtrack kind of stuff. No, it's very emotional track. I think it's I can't remember the name of it, but it'll come back to me eventually.
No, like if the rest of the series is like this, where like the violence is used purposefully as opposed to gratuitously, and we keep getting these really great character moments, like with Joel with the officer, bringing that back around, I thought it was really great.
Yeah, because I was sitting there like, who the hell is this dude? I mean, this is some new character they're trying to bring, but it pays off. It's paid off in the end.
Set up and payoff. Yes, definitely. Adds it puts a face on it, and that's the important thing, though. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. The violence, it feels personal and purposeful. We like, from the perspective of Joel, we meet this guy. We see his face. We kind of get his mannerisms. We get an idea or a glimpse as to what kind of person this is that Joel's dealing with, and then it comes back around, and now he's like one of the first victims of the show's violence. After the prologue. I mean, shit. We've talked about it on this channel before, where like when we were talking about Avatar, and there are certain unwritten rules you don't violate that can take the audience out of the action. Part of that, one of those things, is violence against children, and starting us off with the realities of how this world pretty much functions by showing us a child. Yeah.
I'm about to say, you want to go ahead and push spoiler territory now?
No. Or do you want to do that in the same video? Or you want to make a separate video?
We're doing the same video, bro.
All right.
I don't break it into.
Before we get into spoilers, let's go ahead and give a rating. I would sit there and say that this is a perfect fucking episode. I would give it a 10.
I give it a 10. I mean, there are little
No notes.
There are little things I'm like, it kind of
9.8.
No, I mean it's good. It's just it's always that I wanted more. There were some things that kind of irked me here and there, and I'm like, we didn't see that play off. But there was probably there's probably be more reason for that to happen in this episode, but that's okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if you got to this point in the video, thank you so much. We will check you out next time, next week on the next episode. But if you're going to stick around, we're going to be talking spoilers for a hot second. So if you're here and you haven't seen the episode, go watch it, please. Otherwise, you've been warned. I've only played through The Last of Us, the game, once. And I want to specify that because despite the fact that I've only played it once, I remember a lot about it because it was an experience. It stuck with me. So watching this episode, probably just like you, I couldn't help but think of knowing exactly what beats are going to get hit in the course of it. The episode starts off in its own kind of territory, but then the moment things actually start happening, it's like, okay, we're on track now. The train is rolling.
But like, all right, the shit with the neighbor, then we're going through the town, and then Sarah.
Everyone on the highway.
Sarah. Yeah. Which she was good. She was good. Isaac was like,
she was very good.
Critiquing, and I don't care. I mean, we gonna care. Isaac want to say, why does Joe look like you? I'm like, what's that got to do with it? I mean, okay, it's whatever. But I'm not gonna typecast.
Take the compliment, man. You look like Pedro Pascal. Go for it. But like speaking of which, man, just like busting in the door like Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah.
But no, in that same vein, I was watching the beats when Joel and Tess went to go get like revenge, get the money back and get the battery that they were owed.
It's still happening in the game.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that whole. Yeah, I was thinking about that whole section.
You thought you were going to
where I spent like 2 hours. I spent like 2 hours in that section trying to stealth take out all the dudes.
We didn't get that. We didn't get that.
That already happened.
It
already happened. They kind of stumbled in on it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, when I watched it, I was like, okay, we're gonna see some good action scenes and shit. We're gonna see some like stealth kills or something like that. They're like, nope. It's already happened, and here's the part where we meet Marlene.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point, though. Like, were you upset that they didn't have like that action sequence?
That's what I'm a bit upset. I would have we did see the little confrontation between Robert and Tess on how she got her face all mangled up or whatever.
And I love how like when that scene opens and she's in the chair flanked by two dudes and talking to the guy, she's obviously roughed up. You think you understand the dynamic that's going on, like she's getting shaken down, but then you got this guy who's like, please don't tell Joel. Please don't tell Joel my guys got you, man. Please don't. It was an accident. I fucked you over. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that was interesting.
But yeah, as far
and the Fireflies are way more active in this series than I think I remember them being in the game.
You see a little bit more kind of not like backstory or anything. You see a little bit more dynamic between the other Firefly characters, because when you see the Fireflies in the game, they're just guys you kind of pick off. But I mean, in the beginning of the game, they did bomb the city. I mean, not like they bombed a specific place. I think that's kind of what they did when Tess got out in the show.
That's what happened. Yeah, that's basically what happened to Tess. They blew up a car, and that took out the wall. But no, but going back to like the Joel Tess raid that didn't happen. That's kind of the point, though. Violence in the show, even more so than it was in the game, is supposed to be deliberate and not gratuitous. So we're probably not going to get extensive action scenes like that, apart from possibly the very end.
Oh
like,
yeah,
we're probably not
I'm
going to
gonna
get
tell you now,
rampages.
if they better not fuck up that, and they better not. You know that scene better go like Arnold Schwarzenegger commando style. He's loading up. I don't care how he. Well, you kind of got a glimpse of it at the end of this episode where they talk about weeks to come.
Oh,
Stuff.
the preview.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the preview. That very last scene. That was definitely funny.
I mean, guaranteed the next episode you're gonna actually see clickers and stuff like that because they're going into
Definitely.
You're seeing the little building collapse on top of each other, and I remember the game, you go through that area and you do see clickers and stuff like that. I don't expect that. I don't know how long the next episode is.
It's at this point that like the amount of detail that I remember from the game gets wider and wider. It's like I mean,
it's
Tess
funny.
ain't around for that long, and then there's giraffes.
Yeah, spoilers for what maybe
not to mention whatever. We're in the spoiler section. All right. Not to mention, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the game, Joel was just trying to get out of the city.
Yeah, see that I believe so.
In the show, they give him a better motivation because he's trying to get to Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, okay, that gives me more motivation. It's better than just
vaguely Joel wants to leave.
Yeah, because I mean that, like when they were talking about that, I was like, okay, so what was his motive of leaving, getting a battery? Now it kind of makes more sense with this, and give it a little bit more backstory. Be like, okay, he's trying to find his brother. But Sarah,
because I feel like the game, we only find out about Tommy like long after the fact, and Joel doesn't even mention him at all.
No,
and like Tommy's settled.
Yeah, you see him in the beginning, and then he comes back later on in the game. He's like, "That's my brother." You go to another like.
Yeah, but it was kind of like happenstance that you guys encounter him again. Whereas in the show, they give Joel a motivation, and that's a lot better.
All right, we're going to make a prediction, right? Because I predicted the end to this episode. I was like, they're going to show that Ellie's infected. It's going to end with them going into the damn buildings. One of these episodes is going to end with Joe and Ellie, and the episode ends with, "That's my brother." You're going to see him, and it's going to cut to black. You can finally see his brother again. It's going to cut to black. But
is that a prediction for the very next episode?
Oh no, it's 9. This series is 9 episodes long, so I don't expect that to maybe happen in episode 7. 7.
Yeah, okay.
Because I guarantee that you probably might see the giraffes in episode 8, and then you see the whole thing with him in the Fireflies camp on the final episode. And I expect if they're clever, if they chef kiss this motherfucker, they do it right, you're gonna see Abby's little young ass in there. They got
probably it'd be interesting, like to see it sooner as opposed to later. That'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah, well, you won't see now. It might be a hint like you see her feet or something like that.
Let's divert for a hot second from the subject matter, and I have a question and propose to you. I feel pretty good after this episode, and I'm hoping with the advent of this, and then you have with like the success of the Sonic movies, and then the Mario movies probably gonna be a success. And we got the God of, I know you're sketchy, but the God of War Amazon series in the future. What is a game? And let's not talk about Uncharted. What is a game that you can think of that has the best chance of being adapted in live action and being able to be done well?
Okay.
Looking at the material that's given to you in the game itself.
Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you why this game works so well in live action medium or, movie version. Because it was already a good story. And as far as you can see, from what this first episode, they didn't really divert that much from the original story. And that's what's happening with some of these movie adaptations. Like with Sonic, was there really a story for that? Girl, like if you're thinking about
No, it was mostly about
if you're thinking about just Sonic 1, 2, and 3, was there really a story besides going through the zones, getting Chaos Emeralds? That was it.
I don't know. I distinctly remember.
All right, so but with movies like Resident Evil, yes, I'm gonna bring that up. There's a story within the game that I don't know, pretty solid if you follow the story close, but writers want to alter the story, and what you get is movies like Resident Evil Welcome Home Raccoon City, which is a trash fire of a Resident Evil movie, and they're planning on making more of these damn movies. Same with the Resident Evil Netflix series. I watched one episode and I was like, no, I'm not watching the rest of this series. But if you
there seems to be an X factor that is necessary for it to be any sort of successful.
Got me taking my socks off. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you stay close to the story and the source material, you shouldn't have a problem adapting any video game into a movie. But if we're gonna go along that line,
and I get that whole thing. Looking at the try to think of a video game with such a solid story that could be adapted. I have one in mind.
Go. Because I'm still thinking.
Telltale's The Walking Dead.
But see, the problem with that is because we already have the TV show, we have the spin-off series. Do we really need to have Clementine's story brought into, live action? I don't think so. I think that works.
I'm not talking about need. I'm not talking about need. I'm just talking specifically about what could probably be done well, because the blueprint is already done.
Yeah, but I think that just needs to stay into its own medium of video games, because obviously I could tell you why it wouldn't work well outside of its video. I don't know where the hell that. Oh, right, because it is right here. It doesn't work because it goes everything against the character that the game set up to be, and then you just changed the whole character in the first 3 pages of the book, and I'm like, this isn't the Clementine I know,
No, but that doesn't mean that an adaptation of the game couldn't be successful, because it's basically, sadly, in this day and age, it's effectively 50-50. We can't even get a good, campy, fun Mortal Kombat movie. You know what I mean? Something so fucking simple, and they didn't even have the literal Mortal Kombat tournament in it.
We're not going to even talk about that. This is supposed to be the last of us.
I'm just saying. This is just a side tangent at the end, man. But nonetheless, I still think it's a really interesting topic. I would still like to see a lot of different video games get adapted for live action, because some people don't have 60 hours to invest in a particular game.
Don't worry.
And these are stories that I'd like more people to get a hold of.
I got the best video game adaptation right here. Oh, Gran Turismo, and we're getting it. We're getting a movie, y'all.
Okay.
Nah, I'm just bullshit.
Nonetheless, no shit.
I mean,
they are coming out with it, aren't they?
Yes, it's real. It's real. Okay. As far as an adapt, I would like to see.
I thought Talladega Nights could be considered a great Gran Turismo movie, but that's just me. But
I'm gonna kick one of you turns in the back of the head. I don't know, see, because I look at some of my games, I'm like, yeah, I feel like that movie has been done. Like with Return, I would like to see Returnal or Deathloop, but there's a movie similar to that, and that's Live Die Repeat. Except for they got, maybe Returnal will be closer to Live Die Repeat, because that has aliens.
You know what we're going to get? Regardless of how I feel about it, what we're going to get is Death Stranding. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think about the show? Drop a comment down below, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Deuces.